Kia ora, everyone, and welcome to Weekender at 5, where we bring you the biggest news headlines from New Zealand and India. My name is Preeti Garude, and I'll be your host for this evening. Today, we're interviewing a leader from within the Kiwi Indian community, Sunil Kaushal. Sunil, who's the president of the Waitakere Indian Association, has been awarded the Bharat Gaurav Award by an India-based NGO in the category of service to the Indian diaspora in New Zealand. He's only the third Kiwi Indian to be conferred with this award. Today, we talk to him about his journey in New Zealand, the impact of his work, and his wishes for the new year. Welcome to Weekender at 5, Sunil.
Thanks, Preeti.
Congratulations on being conferred with the Bharat Gaurav Award, Sunil. What was your reaction when you found out?
Oh, thanks, Preeti, for the congratulations. Well, it came out of the blue. I mean, no one expects these things, or at least I never expect being nominated, and actually not only nominated but also get, because I think even a nomination is a award in itself, that you have been recognized for the hard work you do. But then to go a step further, to be awarded, I think it came as a shock, obviously, but a happy shock, I suppose. That why me? There's so many other hundreds of Kiwi Indians here in New Zealand that are doing great work, but I do accept it humbly, and also to know that who the other the category recipients are across the world is just amazing to be in that line. So it was. It was mixed feelings.
I bet that must have definitely come as a surprise slash sort of a shock. So,
Yeah.
Sunil, you are the president of the Waitakere Indian Association. You're the former chair of the India New Zealand Business Council. And you have sometimes been a vocal and sometimes been a silent contributor to the Kiwi Indian community as such. So, can you just tell us how and when did all of this, your philanthropic sort of ventures start?
Look, I think obviously, from my childhood, my parents have been in NGO, and looking after kids, down in India. We've run We are still running a orphanage where we take in kids. My mom runs she's 82 or 83 now. She runs a slum school with about 153
Oh,
kids,
wow.
rather than kids going and picking up rubbish from the streets. We bring them, clothe them, feed them, and so that kind of social justice, social equality has always been with us, and also our values, you can say. And so it has always been ingrained. I've been with my dad in many situations where dad has helped people that he didn't know. And as a child, you would think, why would you do something like that? You don't even know. In the Indian circles, like you have people coming, for example, a Mali, or someone coming to do your dishes, helping them and their kids, paying for the medical bill. I remember probably about 6 years ago, he paid, goodness knows, I think, a lakh or something for
Mm.
someone. So it was like, and so that, so those good values have been ingrained. And yes, apart from your 9 to 5 job, doing something for the society has always been part of the ethos and DNA. So I've been very fortunate to have incorporated it here also in New Zealand. Kiwis do a lot of these things,
Mm.
and so it just kind of, I suppose, bridged together easily. So it's not something new that I've been wanting to do or doing. I think it's just in a different way that we are doing.
Mm. And we can sort of see the results of that coming forth over the past few years, and even now, of course, with
Yeah,
the award.
it does take time. It's
Of
not.
course.
Yeah, it's not. And I think there is a saying, that don't let your left hand know what your right hand is giving. and rather than beating about it. I think it's good to do under the radar. I mean, for example, one of the during the pandemic or the earlier stages of pandemic, with sudden lockdowns, even last year and this year, as Waitakere Indian Association, we did things under the radar. You
Mm.
know, I instructed our team that if you're going to do something, don't post it on Facebook. You know, because there are people that we are helping are in vulnerable situations. Yeah.
Mm.
So rather than seeking our own glory, we should just, do it, quietly so that people are respected. So, things like that. It's, everyone has a different way of doing things, but that's my value.
Yeah, and that's fantastic to hear. And we'll come back to the work of the Waitakere Indian Association. But I know that you have worked and continue to work in the corporate sector, and you've been quite instrumental in assisting many Kiwi businesses set up and understand the Indian market. So if you could just give a quick insight as to how was that experience, and now with COVID and with the pandemic, how do you see that evolving from here?
So yeah, I think it's a very good question because there's about 250,000 Kiwis of Indian origin here in New Zealand. So imagine 250 times even five you do.
Mm.
That's a million connections we have in India. Surely out of a million convictions, 10 companies can benefit it. And I'm trying to advocate with our businesses across New Zealand that we need to make sure, that they are using the diaspora human capital that is already here in New Zealand. And, it started about, I think, in 2008 when I was
Mm.
fortunate to be with ANZ and setting up their Indian market. And as you know, ANZ is probably the leading financial institution in the Indian market, and they did really well. And it was very good to have supportive managers and even CEOs, my tenure over there, and even now, Antonio is a great supporter of the Indian market. And it just happened that the group CEO also had a vision to go global. And as you know, NZ India restarted, I think, in 2013 14 after a long gap. And that way, and people were all going to China. And I think at that time, the international market knew that there would be something coming up. So start looking at different markets
Mm.
and talking to the Kiwi businesses here to say, look, this is a great market for you. It's not easy, but you need perseverance, because, everyone thought with the FTA with China, it would be easy.
Mm.
And in the absence of FTA, people started thinking, oh no, it'll be difficult. But those who have persevered, and there's about, 80 to 90 businesses, Kiwi businesses, they are flourishing now in
Mm.
India because they persevered and they listened. And I think some of them did really well by listening to the Indian diaspora who are involved here and also employing some of the diaspora from here in their markets. I think that was a great strategy that they listened to, and now
Mm.
they are flourishing. And I think post pandemic, what we will see is the global market shift from China to other countries and including India.
Mm.
And whatever you may say about India, people criticize India about the vaccine rollout, etc., etc. But now look, you know, how well India has done. So there's pros and cons. It depends upon which angle you're looking at. But I'm, going forward post pandemic, or let's say, I don't know if it's post pandemic yet, but 2022 onwards, I think it'll be a good year to look at India from a New Zealand point of view,
Mm.
as an alternate market, because things are settling in India. We are seeing the impact of the vaccination drive that has been done, the largest in the world.
Yeah.
India has opened up its market, travel at the moment, obviously because of Omicron, but it's really doing well, and we are seeing positive changes happening. And New Zealand businesses need to realize that India could become their base or a hub
Mm,
for Southeast Asia, for Sri Lanka,
mm.
for Middle East, those markets, because Indian connections in those markets and even Africa are huge.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much for those insights. And they were like that's really valuable, and that's a key insight that a lot of businesses would consider within as well. Now, just moving back to the Waitakere Indian Association work. Now, during your tenure as the president, you commissioned a research report that showcased the economic contribution of Kiwi Indians, which is 10 billion and growing, and that's like the first substantial report about Kiwi Indians that come through. So, since the report, what sort of reactions have you received, or can you share with us?
Look, I think it's great that firstly, that we did the report. We took the initiative of doing the report, as you mentioned, the first time ever in New Zealand, to give Kiwi Indians a hope and actually data there. And it's great to see that the report is being used not only within the community but outside the community in the parliament, by the members of parliament, by businesses, and it's been a great feedback we've received. And I think some of the things that came out of it, which was obviously the skills migrant that we are, the
Hmm.
skills that we bring are rare and are much needed in the New Zealand economy. And one of the things was, for example, NZQA to start recognizing those Indian qualifications,
Hmm.
for example, for nurses, for accountants, for solicitors and doctors. One of the things we argued was that, for let's say for a nurse, you take the blood pressure the same way globally like you would do. It's not it's not like you slap on your wrist or something and think, okay, yeah, it's all digital. India is the capital of pharma in the world, basically. Then why are we not looking into these things? That came out very strongly, and the other things that came out was around the voter base that New Zealand has, or
Hmm.
Kiwi Indians have, which can, if they were to vote together in a pack, they can bring 5 to 7 members of parliament. So I think Indian votes are very important for the politicians. And not only that, it is growing. The Indian diaspora is growing, and what we will see in the coming years is that the age group between 5 to 18 in the
Hmm.
next 10 years, etc., will be large contributors to the Indian economy. So I'm expecting, if we did the report again in 10 years, our number would have gone from 10 to at least 20, 30 billion.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. That for me itself, like when I did go through the report, that was a quite valuable insight. And like you mentioned, that when you have data supporting a statist,
Yeah.
insight, that's very powerful in itself. So now I'm going to close off with a final question for you, which is, what next for Sunil Kaushal, and what does 2022 look like for you?
Oh, look, I think well, my dad used to say, just don't give up your day job and do what you're doing. And, just to, like they say, with greater power comes greater responsibility. And I think, my work is not done. Just because someone receives an award doesn't mean you've reached your pinnacle.
Mm,
In fact, that means that you have to work double rather than, just sit back and relax. So, well, just continue to serve the community in various ways, advocate for them. I think most important thing that I think Indian leaders in New Zealand need to realize is you need to stand up for your people,
mm,
irrespective of political issues.
yeah.
Yeah, what people do is they try and please their own party. You cannot you cannot try and please the party. You've got to stand up for your people. If you are in that role,
Mm,
that people, you may be doing NGO work, you may be a president of an association or a club or this and that. You are there representing the people, and if you see injustice being done, you need to take a stand. You will
mm,
be unpopular. I don't think a leader is there for a popularity. Well, I don't think like that. I've had a lot of slack, from people and even from my own people saying, oh, why are you doing this, but then you need to know, as I said from in the beginning, the social justice element in my heart is very important. You need to stand up for those who cannot speak for themselves. And I will continue to do that. As I say, I'm not here to have popularity contest or something like that, but it may only affect one or two people, but to them it means the world. And I think that's what we should be doing, and speaking up. So I'll keep doing those things. And also, I think we need to, as Indian diaspora and organizations, we need to put our differences aside, but come together for things. Because when people see, when authorities see, when decision makers see that Indian diaspora is speaking with one voice, you know
Mm.
we don't need, we don't need titles, and we don't need all these things. We just need to have a common voice.
Yeah.
I've seen an organization, or groups that have been formed. They come with that vision, but then again you have the tier system, that I'm this, I'm that, I'm that.
Yeah.
And look, this is 2022 now. We are going into, it's not 1918 that we are in,
Yeah.
that we need that hierarchy. And what I think, what people and what Indian diaspora leaders don't realize is that we have a mix of Kiwis of Indian origin that came to New Zealand, Kiwis of Indian origin that were born in New Zealand,
Yeah.
and Kiwis of Indian origin who have just made their home in New Zealand as their home in the last 20, 25 years. So there's three different mindsets that we are playing with. And
Yeah.
we need to have a constant evolution of the
Mm.
way we operate in New Zealand. And otherwise we'll be stuck in the past, and it won't do anything good for our Indian diaspora in New Zealand. So I'm looking forward to 2022, to serve, and also to advocate on behalf of our community.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Good luck on your advocacy, and the amazing work that you've been doing for the community. And I hope you take a moment to enjoy your award, as well as have a good celebration with your family. Thanks a lot for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank you very much, Preeti. Good night.
And then that's Sunil Kaushal joining us on Weekender at 5, talking about his award and talking about his contribution to the Kiwi Indian community. Thank you so much for joining us at Weekender at 5.